the ads through faith funnels, they are up, they are running, people are interacting with them. La gente está interaccionando con las advertencias por faith funnels, and that is just one tool in the toolbox. Esto solo es una herramienta que tenemos. Paul said, I'll be all things to all men, so why not be technologically viable? Pablo dijo que yo seré a todos, a todo hombre, por eso no usaremos, ¿por qué no usaremos tecnología? Genesis 24, beginning in verse 12, he said, O Lord God of my father Abraham, I pray thee. Dijo, oh Jehová, Dios de mi señor Abraham, dame, te ruego, el tener hoy buen encuentro. Show me good speed this day and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Y haz misericordia con mi señor Abraham. Behold, I stand here by the well of water. He aquí yo junto estoy a la fuente de agua, un pozo. Y las hijas de los varones de esta ciudad salen por agua. And the daughters of the men of this city come out to draw water. Let it come to pass, sea pues, that the damsel to whom I shall say, que la doncella a quien yo dijere, let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink. Baja tu cántaro, te ruego para que yo beba. And when I say this to her, let her say this to me. She shall say, drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Y respondiere, bebe, y también daré de beber a tus camellos. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac. Que sea esta la que tú has destinado para tu siervo Isaac. Y en esto conoceré que habrás hecho misericordia con mi señor. And thereby, because she was willing to offer drink to the camels, thereby shall I know that thou hast showed kindness unto my master. You may be seated. Puede tomar sus lugares. I want to preach tonight on this idea. The camels are calling. The camels are calling. Quiero predicar esta noche sobre esta idea. Los camellos llaman. Los camellos llaman. Now this servant, whose name we are not given, but in my mind I think of him as Eleazar, because we know that Abraham had a servant whom he trusted, who he would have made his heir, Eliezer. And so I think, although I can't base this on anything except my own opinions and feelings, I think this may have been that same servant. At least he is when I imagine him. And that's good enough for my imaginations. Not doctrine, not even tradition. I don't know if it's even preference. But you know, I think it's Eliezer. Yo pienso que este criado es Eliezer, el siervo cual Abraham quería hacer su heredero. No tengo ningún parte de la Biblia que indica solo en mi imaginación yo lo creo. Yo sé que él tenía buena relación con Abraham. Para confiar a un criado, para viajar muy lejos, tenía que confiar en el criado. Y cuando yo pienso en esta historia, yo pienso que es Eliezer. No tengo nada de la Biblia que me dice But he traveled a long way. Mas él viajó muy lejos. You get to looking at maps, and maps make everything look really small, especially when you get into the Israeli area of the world. Las mapas hace todo parecer muy pequeñito, especialmente cuando está en la área de Israel. But because we only have regions and we don't have cities, yeah, sure, we know the city of Nahor, but we don't know exactly where they lie. He traveled somewhere between 400, at the minimum, to 600 miles. Él viajó entre 400 y 600 millas. Yo sé que eso es una diferencia de más que 200 millas, pero no estamos seguros de dónde exactamente estaba ubicado la ciudad, solo las áreas más grandes. But even if it was 400 miles in one direction, that wasn't 400 miles in a car. That wasn't 400 miles on a train. That wasn't even 400 miles on a horse through smooth country. Ni aún era 400 millas por carro, ni por avión, ni aún por tren, ni aún por caballos sobre campos suaves. Él tenía que pasar 400 millas, a lo menos, esencialmente por el desierto. El desierto no solo es la arena. And a desert, it's 400 miles through desert territory. And not just desert as in smooth sands that you can just, but desert includes mountains. El desierto incluye a montañas. El desierto incluye a colinas. It includes y arroyos secas. It includes dried out stream beds. It includes, there was a lot to travel. And he takes 10 camels y él tomó 10 camellos. Y viajó por el desierto a donde su señor le mandó a ir. And so he takes 10 camels to go where his master commanded him to go. He is earnest. El mucho quiere cumplir esa obra about fulfilling the task that his master gave him. But he's got one problem. Well, I mean, it's a pretty big problem. Mas él tiene un problema y es un problema grande. ¿Cómo es posible? How is it possible that he would find the wife to be para hallar la novia, la esposa prometida, for the son of his master, para el hijo de su señor? Because it's not just your regular arranged marriage. No solo es su matrimonio puesto normal. This master of his, este señor de él, is the one who vanquishes kings using just the slaves in his own house. Usando, él vence los reyes usando solo los esclavos de su propia casa. This is the man who talks face to face with God. Quien habla cara a cara con Dios, not just in the metaphysical, in prayer, but face to face with God incarnate. No solo con Dios en oración, sino rostro a rostro con Dios encarnado. ¿Quién puede negociar con Dios? Who is able to negotiate with God and is rich beyond your and mine imaginations. Y es más rico que podemos imaginar nosotros. Who is known as the friend of God, quien conocido por el amigo de Dios, y parece bien exitoso en todos sus caminos, and he appears successful in all his ways, even his negotiations with God, aún con sus negocios con Dios. ¿Cómo puede hallar la dama quien merece recibir esta herencia? How could he possibly find, without knowing, this is not a speed dating scenario. This is, you're going, because it would be expected that the wife would be in charge of the management of the household. That's a lot of scaling. How are you going to find somebody? Sister Amy, you just got this manager position. That would be like taking you from this position of manager and dropping you into a CEO position of a Fortune 500 company and say, if they fail, you die. Well, all of a sudden, you want to scale with this. Quiere aumentar poco por poco y no por ir de gerente a ser dueño de un gran empresa. How are you possibly, when you're used to maybe helping your father run, and he's got a couple flocks that number in the hundreds, and he's got a couple servants that number in the single digits, to going to where there are hundreds. That's hundreds armed for war. Who knows how many servants and slaves are in Abraham's household? No, si él tenía más que 300 siervos listo por la guerra, no sabemos cuántos él tenía en totalidad. Who's to know whether it's hundreds of thousands or millions of animals? Si él tenía cientos de miles o millones de animales, todas las riquezas, todas las finanzas. Y también, ¿quién puede ser una buena esposa a su hijo? And not just hiring an executor and an administrator, but also someone who would make a good wife. Because you can be a really good administrator and a really lousy wife. Man, she's great at business, but I hate being around her. Ay, hace buen negocios, pero odio a su presencia. Well, that's not going to work either. And we'll see that this servant has Isaac's best interests at heart. Speaking man to man, you understand. Que este criado tenía los mejores intereses de Isaac en mente, hablando varón a varón. Say, how do you know this? What are you getting out of this? Well, in all this incredible task, he starts it by praying to God. En todo este obra increíble, él lo inició bien por orar a Dios. And before he finishes praying, y antes de acabarse de orar, Rebecca salió. Entró la escena. Rebecca comes out. Where's she come out of? Is it an alleyway? Is it a house? Is it wherever? Who knows? I don't know, but she comes into our story. And the servant sees her. Y el criado la miró. And this is how we know he had Isaac's interest in heart. Because when he saw her, he describes her. He wasn't just looking for anybody. She wasn't even just beautiful. She was very beautiful. Isaac, I got you. I got you covered. Because there might have been other ladies that passed that way. I doubt she was the first woman near the well. But he saw her. It's going to be her. Because I've been a servant to Abraham, got to make sure life stays good. I'm going to be a servant to Isaac too. Isaac, you don't know it. You're going to appreciate this, buddy. Isaac no lo sabe, pero como yo he sido criado a tu papá, yo seré criado a ti. No lo sabe, pero lo apreciarás. Ella era muy hermoso. And that's not just not just an adjective that the English puts in there. No solo es un adjetivo que pone el español. But even if you go to the Hebrew, there's beautiful, and then it adds the word. He was very beautiful. Añade la palabra. No solo era hermoso, aún en el hebreo, añadió algo que hizo más extremo. Era muy hermosa. You got to wonder, of all the details that the Bible has, de todos los detalles que tiene la Biblia, is this a story the servant would tell? That he saw her and she was Isaac, I saw her and I knew she was the one for you. Isaac, yo la vi y sabía que ella era para ti. Or is this, as Moses is writing this down, there were legends of the beauty of her? I don't know. You don't know. That's okay. But what we do know is that in verse 17, the servant hopes he has found the answer to his prayer. En verso 17, el criado parece que halló la respuesta a su oración y corrió hacia ella. And it said the servant ran to meet her. She steps out and he runs to her. He's already traveled all this way between 400 and 600 miles. Ya viajó todo este gran camino entre 400 y 600 millas. He's already prayed a prayer. Ya oró esta oración. Y él cree que Dios responderá a su oración. And he believes that God not only is, but is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And so in his prayer, en su oración, él hizo una condición. He puts a condition that he, the servant, has to start the conversation. Que él, el criado, tiene iniciar la conversación. The only way his prayer will be answered is if he does something about it. Único modo en cual su oración puede ser contestado es si él hace algo. And so he does not hesitate to do his part. Él no detuvo para hacer su parte. Just as an aside, por un ladito, God can't bless if you don't give him anything to bless. Dios no puede bendecir si tú no das nada a él a bendecir. God can't multiply if you don't put it in his hand. Dios no puede multiplicar si no lo pone en sus manos. And if you say, God, if you do this, I'll do this. Well, he's already done more than we can ever do. Y si dice Dios, si tú lo haces esto, yo haré eso. Él ya hizo más que podemos imaginar. So what we've got to do is say, God, if I do this, will you bless it? Dios, si yo lo hago, tú vas a bendecirlo. And we ought to we might not know, we might not be sure, but oh Lord, thou knowest. Mas, oh mi Dios, tú lo sabes. I'm going to just try it out to see if God will bless it. Yo voy a intentarlo a ver si Dios lo va a bendecir. And so he says, will you, por favor, te ruego, let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. Déjame, te ruego que me des a beber un poco de agua de tu cántaro. Now this to my mind, a mi mente, parece como algo muy simple. It seems to be something very simple. Un poco de hospitalidad. Muy normal. A very basic level of hospitality. That if I've got to, your pastor's carnal. We know this. Tu pastor es carnal. Ya lo sabemos. I like to set standards low for myself. Quiero poner estándares muy bajo para mí. God, will you please bless this church if I can just take it to 500? Would be a stupid prayer to pray. Dios, si yo puedo llevar esta iglesia a 500, por favor, tú lo puedes bendecir. Because I can only fill the pulpit. I cannot fill the church. Porque yo solo puedo llenar el púlpito y no la iglesia. God, will you just give me the patience of Job? No, I don't want that either. Dios solo me da la paciencia de Job. No lo quiero eso tampoco. I like what the servant said. I'll go and I'll do something normal. Señor, si solo puedo ir y hacer algo normal. It doesn't take a whole lot to do normal things. No necesita mucho para hacer cosas normales. It doesn't take a whole lot to be glad about being in the kingdom of God. No manda mucho para estar alegre de estar en el reino de Dios. No manda mucho para decir a otros que, ay, mi Dios es bueno. It doesn't take a whole lot to tell others, my God is good. Oh, it's wonderful. I love God and the people of God and the house of God and everything about it. No necesita mucho para compartir que yo amo a Dios, yo amo al pueblo de Dios, yo amo la casa de Dios. It doesn't take a whole lot. Just to do what Jesus did. He went about doing good. No manda mucho para hacer lo que hizo Jesús, quien viajó haciendo bienes. So let me set the standard low. God, if I talk to them, will you move on them? Dios, si yo hablo a esa persona, tú puedes mover. And so he does. He talks to her. He's a stranger, she's a local, él es extranjero, ella es local. And he has no way of drawing water. Y él no tiene modo de sacar el agua. And so he says, por favor, puedo tener un poco de agua. Tú ya lo tienes. Could I please have some water? And it seems when she came out, cuando ella salió probablemente de la estructura donde había el pozo, that she came out of where the well was. And we'll get onto that in just a moment. And it's likely that anybody would have said yes. Es probable que toda persona diría que sí te puedo tener agua. And that's exactly what she said. God, this is where we need to start. I'll do something. Yo haré algo. Lo hizo. Y él respondió. And so he does that small something. And she responds and she says, drink, my Lord. And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand. We can think of that. She has it up on her head and she brings it down and she offers him to drink. She gives him to drink. Él respondió, bebe, señor mío. Y se dio prisa a bajar su cántara sobre su mano. Podemos imaginar que estaba sobre su cabeza como llevaron cántaros de agua. Y bajó sobre su mano y le dijo a beber. Le dio a beber. And this is where Rebecca goes beyond. Este es donde Rebecca se pasó más allá. She goes beyond anything that could have reasonably been expected of her. Se pasó más allá de todo lo racional, especialmente considerando que no ninguna vez pidió el siervo de ella para hacerlo. Especially when you consider that what Abraham's servant asked of her was, will you give me to drink? It's it. Period. That's all he asks. He doesn't ask for anything else. He set the bar for himself low. He could have said, God, if I ask her to give me and all my camels to drink, we're going to see a lot of heads going to go the other way. You're going to talk to a lot of people. God, my part's the small part, as it always is with God. God, I'm just going to ask her, give me to drink. And God, you've got to do the big part. You've got the big part, God, as you always do. Yo tengo la parte pequeñito y tú, Señor, tiene el parte muy grande. Voy a pedirla por agua. Y tú, Señor, haz que ella ofrece a todos mis camellos. God, you've got to do the big part. You have got to get her to offer to give water to all 10 of my camels. It's a lot of camels. And she makes the offer freely. And when she had done giving him to drink, that was easy. Cuando acabó de darle de beber, eso solo pasó pocos momentitos, dijo, también para tus camellos sacaré agua, hasta que acaban de beber. And she said, I will draw water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. And she hasted, y se dio prisa, and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again unto the well to draw water, and drew for all the camels. Y vació su cántaro en la pila, y corrió otra vez al pozo para sacar agua, y sacó para todos sus camellos. The camels are calling. Los camellos llaman. This was no longer a reasonable action. Este no era una acción racional. It wasn't something that you could expect from the average person. No era nada que podía esperar de una persona media. This was not convenient. No era conveniente, and it was not easy. No era fácil. But it would change the course of her life, pero cambiaría el curso, su destino, cambiaría, impactó a su futuro, and it impacts not only her future, but thousands of years later, you are impacted by her actions. Because if she had not done this, it would not be written there, and you would not read about it, and we would not be here tonight talking about what Rebecca did. Y no hablaríamos de lo que hizo Rebecca. And so she took the water that was already in her pitcher, tomó el agua ya en su cántaro, y lo derramó en la pila, and she pours it out into the trough. And she runs, y ella corrió al pozo para sacar más agua. She runs to draw water from the well. This is not, if you look in my wife and I's shared eBay account, I haven't looked there today, but I can almost guarantee, no he visto en nuestra cuenta compartido de eBay, no he visto hoy, but I can guarantee almost with 100% certainty that there will be something along the tunes of pastoral paintings. Más que habrá algo de un dibujo pastoral, de los campos, y los pastores y sus ovejas. Not pastoral as in like I'm a pastor, but pastor as in a oil painting with sheep and shepherds in it, because that's what she's looking for. I know her. Now, can I guarantee that? Every time I go on eBay and I go to look up something, I've seen that there's another pastoral painting search, because she's after a large pastoral painting. This is not a pastoral painting. Este no es una pintura pastoral. This is not a European countryside somewhere pleasantly in the Swiss Alps, and there's a stone wall raised maybe 2 feet around a well with a nice little thatched covered roof. No es un pozo que con un pared, un muro de piedras alrededor, cubierta con un techo muy bajo, muy lindito. It's very pretty, it's very clean, and it's an alpine village, and there's conveniente está al lado de una pila, and it's right as it would be, conveniently located next to a nice little watering trough where you see a little lamb sipping sweetly from the trough. Y mire al cordero tomando lentamente de la pila. This is a city of Mesopotamia. Esta es una ciudad de Mesopotamia. Es caliente. It's muy seco. It's hot. It's dry. Remember that conversation about the desert? Recuerda la conversación del desierto? In the summer, temperatures would regularly pass 100 degrees. Regularmente subiría más allá que 100 grados. En español. Con poco frecuencia era normal a llegar a 120 grados. It was a normal, regular, like if we say, man, it's really hot out. Christina said the other day it was 108 was the real feel. And if it gets above 100, it does that, but it doesn't do that most days, for which I am extremely grateful. But it was regular that in the summer it would get up to 120 degrees. In the Mesopotamia, it's hot. It's dry. Nobody wants to go to a cute little well where it's hot and dry. Nadie quiere ir a un pozo lindito donde está muy seco y caliente. How long was I going to have to hold that voice for? And so what they would do is they would either look for groundwater where there was already a natural cave, buscaría tierra donde ya había una cueva, or they would dig down into the earth over it. Otro cavaría a la tierra sobre. That's why when Rebecca came out, she probably came out of the well structure. Cuando Rebecca salió, probablemente salió de la estructura del pozo. Being dug down. Acabar abajo. That means you've got stairs. Eso significa que hay escaleras. If you've never run stairs, it's good. Si nunca ha corrido por la escalera, es bueno. Otro por ejercicio o porque está tarde. And that you might have to run stairs because of exercise. You might have to run stairs because you're running late. So she had to run downstairs when it says she ran. And she fills her water pitcher. And she has to run back up the stairs, this time with a full pitcher. Ella corrió abajo con cántaro vacía. Ella corrió arriba con cántaro lleno de agua que pesaba más. And so stairs up. She gets to the trough. Llegó a la pila, which was probably not at this top of the stairs, que probablemente no estaba inmediatamente a la escalera. So she makes it to the trough. She empties the pitcher. Vació su cántaro. Y corrió de nuevo. And she runs again. Abajo la escalera, down the stairs. She fills the pitcher. She runs up the stairs. Corrió arriba de la escalera. She runs back to the trough. She empties it. And it begins again. Se vació y comenzó de nuevo. There are 10 camels. Había 10 camellos, who, in addition to Abraham's servant, these camels also traveled between 400 and 600 miles through the hot, dry desert. Viajaron por el desierto caliente y seco, árido. And a camel, when it's thirsty, un camello, cuando tiene sed, puede beber entre 20 y 30 galones de agua. One camel drinks between 20 and 30 gallons of water. Rebecca's pitcher, el cántaro de Rebecca, would have held between 2 and 5 gallons of water. Contenería entre 2 y 5 galones de agua. Which means that when she ran down the stairs with an empty pitcher, that was easy. Cuando corrió debajo de la escalera, era fácil, porque su cántara era vacío. When she ran up with a pitcher, she was holding between 18 and 45 pounds. Tenía entre 18 y 45 libras de agua a la pila, a vaciar de nuevo, to go over to the trough, to empty it again, to run again. At least, if each camel only drank 20 gallons, and her pitcher had 5 gallons, and there are 10 camels, that would have been a minimum of 40 trips. That's a lot of stairs. 40 viajes. Muchas escaleras. If her pitcher only held 2 gallons, si solo contenía 2 galones, and each camel drank its maximum of 30 gallons, y cada camello tomó su máximo de 30 galones, that is a possible maximum of 150 trips. Eso es un máximo de 150 viajes. A la pila, to the trough, empty pitcher, cántaro vacío, debajo de la escalera, a llenar el cántaro, down the stairs, fill the pitcher, full pitcher, careful with it. If you spill it, you've just got to get more. Up again, empty pitcher. Llenando el cántaro para subir la escalera a vaciar de nuevo. Again, and again, and again, de nuevo, y de nuevo, de nuevo. It was not easy, no era fácil, no era conveniente. It was not convenient, but it was worth it. Mas sí valió la pena. She probably did not count the cost. Probablemente no contó la cuenta. Ella probablemente no hizo las matemáticas que hicimos nosotros. She probably didn't do the math like we just did before she considered, if I've got a large pitcher and there's only mildly thirsty camels, it's only going to be 40 trips. It could be as many as 150 trips. She probably didn't think about that when she made the offer. Probablemente no pensó de eso en detalle cuando hizo esta oferta. She probably might not have even been able to articulate why she did what she, why? As her legs are burning. She's thinking, why did I make that offer? I do not want. Something just came over me, and all of a sudden I said that. When I said, I gotta not talk to strangers at the well anymore. Y probablemente no podía decir exactamente por qué ella hizo esta oferta. ¿Por qué ofrecería a dar de agua, a dar de beber a todos esos camellos? And she ran again, and she ran again. Or maybe she would have said, even if she knew the cost. O tal vez hicería aún si contaba la cuesta. Maybe she was just a regularly generous person. Tal vez solo era muy generosa en todas sus interacciones, and that's just the sort of person she would. Down and up the stairs she ran, de abajo y arriba por la escalera corría. Ella, we're told to count the cost. Somos instruidos a contar la cuenta. But did the boy, pero si el niño con sus 2 pescados y 5 panes contó la cuesta? But did the boy with the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, did he count the cost before he gave away everything he brought for lunch? Ante que dio todo lo que llevó a comer, did he count the cost before he gave it to the teacher? Ante que lo dio al maestro, and he watched it be broken. Y lo vio ser quebrantado, and then he watched as a miracle took place. And he broke it, and he broke it, and he broke it, and he broke it, and he blessed it, and he broke it, and he blessed it. And it just kept multiplying until there was enough to feed 5,000 plus women and children. So you can expect a group of about at least 15,000 people there. The math ain't mathin'. Y el niño dijo que las matemáticas no son como yo esperé. Did he count the cost? Down the stairs and up the stairs she ran. De abajo y de arriba corrió ella por las escaleras. Did the widow really count the cost? Realmente contó la viuda la cuesta ante dar al profeta su última cena, before she gave the prophet the last bit of food she had? Sure, she argued with him. Por seguro ella argumentó con él. Ay, solo tengo bastante para dar a mí y mi hijo. I've only got enough to give myself and my son. Y vamos a comerlo y vamos a morir, and we're going to eat it and we're going to die. Was it desperation that when he said, just give me something first and God will take care of you? Era la desesperación cuando ella pidió, dame de comer a mí y después tú y tu hijo come? Was it desperation? Or was it just a complete and total lack of hope? Era un sentimiento de, ay, no importa nada ahora. What was it? Was it maybe if I do this for the prophet? Prophets have been a part of miracles before. Tal vez si yo lo hago para este profeta. Did she count the cost? Ella contó la cuesta. Down and up the stairs she ran. De abajo y arriba corrió ella por las escaleras. The reasonable service that God asks of us. Lo racional, el culto racional que pide Dios de nosotros. Down and up the stairs she ran, de abajo y de arriba corrió ella por la escalera. Are we willing only to do things that are convenient? Solo estamos listos nosotros para hacer lo que es conveniente? Are we willing to follow the will of God only when it aligns with the way we were already going? Solo estamos listos para seguir la voluntad de Dios solo cuando alinea con nuestro camino que ya caminemos? Are we willing only to do the things that are comfortable? Solo estamos listos para hacer las cosas bien cómodos? Down and up the stairs She ran de abajo y arriba por las escaleras, corría. Will it only be what God commands of you? Solo estará lo que Dios manda de ti, o lo que el pastor pide de ti, or what the pastor asked of you. Down and up the stairs she ran, de abajo y arriba por las escaleras corría ella. Or will you go further than God demands? Just because you want to see what's on the other side of the miraculous. O solo vas a hacer lo que Dios manda de ti, o irás más allá solo para ver lo que está al otro lado del milagroso. Down and up the stairs she ran, de abajo y arriba por la escalera corría ella. We can imagine a group of people at this point having gathered. Podemos imaginar un grupo de gente ya unido alrededor a ver. Esta es la hija de un rico. This is a daughter of a rich man. This is a daughter, we see her come because that's what she does. But this is different. Down and up the stairs she ran, de abajo y arriba corría ella por la escalera. Why is she doing this? Who is this stranger with his 10 laden camels? ¿Quién es este extranjero con sus camellos? Down and up. She doesn't care about them. She's got this one goal in mind. Down and up the stairs she runs again and again and again and again. De abajo y arriba corría ella por la escalera de nuevo, de nuevo, de nuevo, de nuevo. Minimum of 40 times. Un mínimo de 40 veces. Un máximo de 150 veces, in a maximum of 150 times. Down and up the stairs she runs, de abajo y arriba corría ella por la escalera, because the camels are calling, porque los camellos llaman. They're calling to an unreasonable service. Nos llama a un culto que no es racional. They're calling us to a walk with God, a un camino con Dios que va más allá que los alrededor quieren ir. They're calling us to a walk with God that is further than anyone you know is willing to go on. You've heard about others. You see the people around you, but God says, will you go farther? And then he stops asking. And the question is, when he stops asking, will you ask God, is there another level? Is there a higher height? Is there a deeper depth? Y cuando él pare de pedir, tú tengas que preguntar, ¿hay un nivel más alto? ¿Hay una profundidad más profundo? ¿Hay algo más que yo puedo hacer en el reino de Dios? Because I want to know, is there something more? Not because the servant's asking me, no porque el siervo me pide más, porque yo oigo que los camellos llaman. I hear the camels calling me. I hear the camels calling me. It's not a request. It's not a command, but I want to know what will happen if I answer the camel's call. ¿Qué sucederá si contesto yo al llamamiento de los camellos? Sister Christina, if you'll come to the keyboard, please. Down and up the stairs she ran, de abajo y arriba corría ella por las escaleras. Are you willing? Are you willing to answer the camel's call? ¿Quieres tú a responder la llamada de los camellos? God can still use you if you are only willing to do convenient things. Dios sí te quiere usar si solo quiere hacer cosas convenientes. God will still use you if you are only willing to do easy things. Dios te usará si solo hace cosas fáciles. God will use you if you give your life a reasonable sacrifice. Dios te usará si dará tu vida por un culto racional. But it will never be at the same level as when you're interested in setting aside your will. Pero nunca estará al mismo nivel si te da interés a poner al lado tu voluntad to do His will, para hacer su voluntad. The difficulty of the task is not important because I'm not interested in counting the cost. La dificultad de esta obra no importa porque no quiero contar la cuesta. Down and up the stairs she ran. De abajo y arriba corría ella por la escalera. Stand with me tonight. Are you willing?